Hello nutrition class and welcome to Mrs. Sawicki's Kitchen at Home. Today we'll be talking about fire prevention. I'm hoping you never need to use any of these tips, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. So let's talk about the different types of fires that you may encounter while working within a kitchen. The first one and easiest one to contain and put out would be a fire within the oven. Maybe something has boiled over or spilled out of a pan that you put in the oven and ignites on the heating elements down at the bottom. If that is the case, the first thing you should do is shut the heat off to the oven. Second thing would be to leave the oven closed. If you open the oven door, you are introducing oxygen to the flames, which puts the risk at making the fire bigger and also allowing it to escape its confinement within the oven to another location in the kitchen. If you leave the door closed, and within a few minutes, the flames will extinguish themselves because they have no oxygen. So that's easy. Now let's talk about the different types of fires that you can encounter on top of a stove, which is a little harder to cut the oxygen off of because it's in an open environment. Okay? So, if you are using an electric range like I have here at home, we have 3 of these in the classroom at school. Okay, Kitchen 4 has a gas range, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So if you're cooking on top of a glass top range and something spills out of the pan, tip 1 is to clean up your spills right away. So get a wet towel or washcloth and wipe it up as quick as you can. Please also don't put things on top of the stove like plastic bags, cheese bags, tortilla bags, your recipe, because the heat from the stove could ignite those items or melt them as well, okay? If you have a fire within your skillet or pan, the first thing you would do is shut the heat off to the oven. Second thing you would do is smother the flames. You either put a lid on it, if you don't have one handy, but you can grab a cookie sheet out of one of the closets and put it over the top. Then you are cutting the oxygen off to the flames. 2 more tips. If you have baking soda or salt handy, you have a small fire to pour these right on to the small fire, and it will extinguish the flames just as well. A little messier, but just as well. Please do not ever use flour. Flour is combustible and it could explode, so don't use flour. We also have fire extinguishers in the classroom, so that is another option. But the best thing is to not panic and to think before you act, okay? Let's watch this little video that's dealing with oil fires because you have to deal with them a little different.
If your chip pan catches fire, don't panic. Just follow these instructions. 1. Turn off the heat. 2. Run a cloth under a tap and wring it out. 3. Cover the pan and then wait until it's cooled right down. Don't try and move the pan, and whatever you do, don't throw water over the fire. The effects can be devastating.
Okay, powerful video. Oil fires are a lot more dangerous. Oil and water do not mix. And I'll give you an example. In Kitchen 4, the first year that I started teaching, I did have students that had oil heated up in a pan, in a skillet like the one on my stove. they went to take some garlic out of a jar that was filled with water, and they introduced it into the oil. Well, they put too much oil in the pan. The oil bubbled over the side of the skillet and ignited on the flames from the gas range. They panicked. The most important thing you need to do is not panic. As easy as it seems, that sounds silly, you really need to not panic. So while they were running around screaming, I ran over and took a pizza pan out of the closet and put it right on top, made sure the stove was off, and we just let it die down. So there's a couple things you should definitely remember. One is to shut the heat source off. 2, smother the flame, either with a lid, with a pan, with a wet towel that you wrung out, but it's damp, that you can cover it. Other options would be using the salt and the baking soda if you needed, or a fire extinguisher. Best practice is to leave it where it's at. Don't, while it's on fire, be going to move it somewhere because, it could go in other directions or catch something else on fire. So leave it where it's at, okay? Wipe up spills right away and don't overfill your pots. Another thing that I seem to see a lot in our classroom is students get anxious to cook. So they haven't done any of the prep yet. They haven't cut any vegetables. They haven't gotten anything prepared. And they turn their ovens on and put the skillet on it. Don't do that. It only takes a few minutes to heat. By leaving that skillet on and leaving it get, so hot, you're creating a possible fire hazard, okay? Don't leave a skillet on the stove with butter or oil in the pan waiting for you to, 20 minutes to get your prep stuff done. That's very dangerous. So I'm constantly walking around saying, shut it off, shut it off, shut it off, until you need it, okay? Or until you're ready to be there to watch it and, cook your food, okay? So I hope that was helpful, and we'll dive into a lot more knowledge that you need before you get into the kitchen. Have a good day.